Dave and Lucy have been in business for a long time. They have a great business and a great team. After years of hard work, they wanted to increase their property portfolio with their dream home. But being self-employed, they found their bank's lending criteria very restrictive. They saw Toowoomba's Edge Lending, the business lending experts. Edge Lending thinks outside the box and were able to secure a facility for Dave and Lucy to purchase the property. Edge Lending, making business lending easier.
Hi everyone, Scott from Edge Specialist Advice Network. I hope you're all well. And today we've got another installment of What the Numbers Say. And as we often do, we're using Visual Capitalist to illustrate some information that we always find interesting. So today we are looking at percentage of the world's fresh water by country. Now, why we're doing this is because you would be hearing consistently and constantly in the news the importance of resources. So you're talking about oil, energy, so oil, coal, gas, really heavy on gas, uranium. You're hearing about commodities, you're hearing about coffee, you're hearing about squeezed oranges, you're hearing about wheat, you're hearing about soybeans, you're hearing about how important precious metals are. The US administration has just put precious metals down as a strategic, critical asset. So as in the rules don't apply when it comes to precious metals, they're so important to the survival and existence of the US government and the US population. They believe that they treat critical minerals and the mining of them differently. You would understand that the US and the UK are kind of arguing over who's going to get the Ukraine rare earths and critical minerals as well. You would understand that Australia has a lot of critical minerals. So you hear a lot about these sort of things. And what I'm looking at, what I thought was quite interesting at the moment, was the percentage of the world's fresh water. All right. So none of us can live without fresh water. We just can't. We're not that. We haven't created this other thing out of technology yet. If there's one critical element of life, it is water. You can do without food for quite a while. You can't do without water for very long. And so it's beholden to us to have a look at the percentage of the world's freshwater reserves held by the country. Now, it's pretty interesting. Have a look at this. All right, Brazil, a big land mass. Brazil, I mean, a huge commodity economy, big leader in the BRICS nations, and Brazil has the largest percentage of the world's freshwater resources at 13% of the total world. Resources of freshwater is in Brazil. Russia, 10%. Russia number 2. So let's have a look at the top few. Brazil, 13. Russia, 10%. Canada, 6.7. US, 6.6. China, 6.6. Colombia, 5. Indonesia, 4.7. So let's have a look at these. So out of everything except Canada and the US, Indonesia, Colombia, China, Russia, Brazil, BRICS nations. Every time we start looking at a graph, we're talking about resources and commodities, or even trading blocks, money, demographics. We're grouping the groupings that we're seeing on the top of these lists often are BRICS nations. This BRICS trading block that is quickly forming across the globe, and the control and ownership, in theory, of the world's freshwater resources. You could say, I mean, minus China and minus Canada and the US here, you would say probably half of the world's freshwater resources, at least half, is held by the BRICS nations. And we come down into the smaller countries. Here's Australia, where I live, 1.2%. Less than Malaysia, a little bit more than Philippines. Mexico, 1%. Yeah, you know what? Everyone was drinking bottled water in Mexico. Water was treated a bit preciously, which is fine. So look, I think when you start talking about, hey, we're all breaking down our trade alliances, we're pulling back into nationalistic style, production of everything. Every country has seen the benefit of being self-sufficient. The COVID lockdowns and created pandemic that showed that the supply lines were so reliant on China and India, those two countries, to get anything you wanted in the world. If that was from protective masks or drugs, antivirals, just anything. And when those supply lines shut, every Western country went, oh crap, we've outsourced everything to what is potentially our enemy state. And if they wanted to shut off production and transport of goods to us and basically starve us out, they could easily do that. And so, love him or hate him, that's what Donald Trump is trying to do. That's what the US establishment is trying to do. They're trying to bring everything back in-house so they can be self-sufficient, from digging up more minerals, from bringing up more oil and gas. They've got plenty of oil and gas. And I imagine water would be one of these things that is what I would call a strategic asset as well. And you can understand why, because look where all the water sits. It's always sitting in BRICS countries, all across the globe. Australia, I don't think we'll run out of water, but you know what? Never know. You never know. But fairly important. Look, guys, I just thought it was another interesting statistic, and to see when you start talking about commodities and soft commodities, you know, water probably is a soft commodity. It's not as if water doesn't get sold. Everything goes, oh, water's a free resource. Well, why do you pay $5 for a bottle of water out of the supermarket fridge then? You know, it's not. It should be, but but it's not. You're at least paying $5. The water's free. The bottle costs $5. So anyway, guys, I hope it never comes down to that where we're fighting over the resources such as water, but it's interesting to know where they actually originate from. Right, that's enough from me. Remember, life is a family sport. Give yours an edge. See ya.
Phil owned an established business and it was really starting to grow. But he was using credit cards as an overdraft, had overdue accounts from suppliers, as well as a tax debt with the ATO. He needed to consolidate this debt and free up working capital. He saw Toowoomba's Edge Lending, who helped him replace these high-interest debts with one simple facility with lower repayments. Edge Lending Solutions, helping established businesses to grow.